Joining us now is the PDP Deputy National Publicity Secretary, Ibrahim Abdullahi. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight.
My pleasure.
Well, the judgment by the PEPT, the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, must have come as a big blow to the PDP. We're hearing, of course, from your camp that your candidate is going ahead to the Supreme Court. But what exactly will justice look like for you? Because you're saying you're going to go all the way to ensure justice. What will this justice look like?
Well, justice is exactly what you and I and every common Nigerian would be able to see, feel, and understand. The facts that were made available before the courts and the evidence that were provided during the deliberations leading to the judgment yesterday were substantial enough to have rendered this election null and void. They will have provided, not just the lawyers of the PDP, even that of the Labour has substantially provided sufficient grounds for the nullification of this election, if we are to go by the provisions of the Electoral Act and the rule of law that this country is itching to have. Now, all the things that will make life meaningful to Nigerians, all the things that would justify the credibility of the election, beginning from the credibility and the eligibility of the candidate of the APC, this time President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, leading to the election proper, every other thing that we have had up until the judgment of yesterday fell short of expectation. And it is, to some of us, an affront to the rule of law itself and a setback to democracy. It's a reversal of fortune, and we were expecting that the evidences that were provided were sufficient enough to have rendered this election, null and void, to nullify the election, as it were. But it's sad. That's what we are faced with here. And like you heard them say, we are going to exhaust our constitutional right of redress, which is to approach the Supreme Court.
Right. Now, you just said that the judgment yesterday didn't meet your expectation. When you see your expectation, what were you expecting? That the election be entirely nullified, or that your principal be declared winner?
Well, there were a lot of evidences that were provided, like I stated, to nullify the election. If you nullify the election in order for the wrong, that would have made a lot of sense. But for the respected judges to say that from the beginning to the end, they saw nothing wrong, from the eligibility of the candidate down to the election proper, which fell short of expectation. You heard about the deployment of technology, which we thought would improve the integrity of the process. That, again, was flawed in the admission of even INEC itself, which superintended over the election. But yet, the judges came here and said it met expectations. So it's sad, it's shocking. We are yet to recover from that rude shock. And it's a terrible setback to all.
But would you say your legal team was blindsided in a way? Maybe, they were, moved by sentiments and emotions in a way that they did not envisage some of the loopholes that the other side, could have taken advantage of. Is that a possibility?
It couldn't have been any, because those issues that were expected to be trashed as pre-election matters leading to the election matters properly were trashed sufficiently by these lawyers. Have you heard any of the grounds of the judges that put a spanner on the works of our lawyers? No. All they brought was just technicalities informed by sentiment. And we are here where we are. It's unfortunate.
So going forward now, because the tribunal actually said that the candidates' petitions lacked merit, and the burden of proof laid on the petitioners, but apparently the petitioners were not able to, bring proof beyond all doubt. How confident are you that the Supreme Court will upturn what the appeal court, the Presidential, Election Petition Tribunal has come up with?
I was to ensure that, like you heard the presidential candidate say, to exhaust all righteousness. First of all, to ensure that we deepen the process of democracy and strengthen its operation through the courts. He has spoken about his confidence and has said that he has looked at the court, the judiciary this time, as a sanctuary of democracy itself. And he has built his success in politics, lasting over 4 years, to the courage and the confidence of the judiciary. So we are approaching the Supreme Court with an open heart in the hope that they will deploy their wisdom at that level to look at the issues that this tribunal refused to see, which were proven beyond reasonable doubt by lawyers. And then at that level, we would hope to have fairness and justice in the matter. But certainly, the judgment of yesterday fell short of substantial justice, and that's why we're taking it further.
Now, let me read this to you, because Justice Samani said Atiku's allegations of vote fraud were so lame. So what do you make of that?
It is for him to explain what that meant, what he meant by that. But whatever it was, for us to prove to the court that that election fell short of expectation, from refusal to have even the electoral materials at polling units, to the compliance of deployment rather of the technology to ensure that materials were supplied as INEC promised and pledged it was going to do to the RF immediately. Vote was cast. We did not see that. Midway into a game, you find an umpire changing the rules. It leaves much to be desired. It's an affront to our Electoral Act.
Yeah, but according to the tribunal, it was left to the discretion of INEC.
But we were given all the guarantees preceding
to decide
that
on the means of transmitting or or transferring
over 18
the results.
Over 18 times, Professor Yakubu assured, including going, to Chatham House, and assured the world that it was going to be excellent, 100% technology driven. So if he comes midway and tells us anything went short, it's your guess is as good as mine. It's unfortunate. It's a sad narrative to Africa's democracy.
How does this affect the PDP, the morale within the PDP? Because we heard one of the top officials in the PDP there say, look, providing a credible opposition and keeping the PDP together is job one, if you like.
For PDP, we are undeterred. You could listen to him, see how confident he came in the air. Look, listen to his words. And the entire followers of the PDP are on a page. In fact, if anything, we are gingered. That's why we did not waste time in saying we are approaching, the Supreme Court for the interpretation of this verdict of, the lower tribunal, the court of first instance. Certainly, we are undeterred. We are even becoming stronger. We have confidence. It's not the first time we'll be robbed of election in this country. At the risk of sounding immodest, in 2019 we went through the same journey, and for Atiku Abubakar, he's been a serial contestant, so he's familiar with these tricks and intrigues. You rest assured we're going to follow this thing to a logical conclusion, and by the grace of God we will leave some of the expectations that we have as a contribution to this outcome until we hear from the Supreme Court, after we exhaust all our rights and privileges as provided by law.
Okay, exhausting all your rights and privileges is one thing. On the other hand, what is going to change when you approach the Supreme Court? Because from all indications, it appears that if you proceed to the Supreme Court with the same structure or with the same legal team that you went that you went in yesterday, that you might just meet the same brick wall.
That is the bridge we'll cross when we get to it. But the verdict of the court of first instance on our lawyers, I beg your pardon, would not be enough for us to believe that they did not do what they were expected to do. If they want to, if the whole world, if the entire lawyers of the whole world had come to speak against this election like we have our own do, it's not going to change anything. They have taken a stand on this issue, so there was no likelihood that you would be able to convince them from even the presentation of the arguments. We had only a 12 hours of waste of time to just listen to what we could have been told in 5 minutes.
But are there lessons learned in this case that you might want to make amendments to, as you approach the Supreme Court?
We are waiting for the judgment first. Like you heard the lawyers of labor say, we want to have the judgment in our hands and look at this thing and then be able to weigh the options and see if indeed what they are saying reconciles with common sense. But I want to assure you that there's nothing in there that would have this election justified. There would be nothing that would have this verdict and the judgment of yesterday justified.
Ibrahim Abdullahi, what's now left is for us to wish you and your party all the best. That's the Deputy National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party.